Shriver.
They were off on a cross-country adventure, father and son looking for a change of pace, a change of scenery. They got that and a whole lot more. Stranded, hurt, cold, in a place where no one could find them. It seemed hopeless. But there was one thing that could save them, if it worked, and if time did not run out. Here's Rob Stafford with a Dateline Survivor story.
Oh, God. God, please don't let us die. God, please don't let us
From the
die.
foothills of the Rockies, a frantic cry for help. A boy and his father, frightened, trapped, and injured.
Can you see any towns at all?
Yes, we're right next to a town, but we're up on a hill, a mountain.
For 11-year-old Sean Presser, the terrifying task of saving not only his own life, but his father's life, was about to begin on a desolate mountaintop.
What is it like to see your father in that situation?
Very scary.
With no one else around to help, Sean was on his own.
How seriously was your dad hurt?
He had a big cut right on his head, and I think that's what knocked him unconscious.
Sean's father, Lee, had been driving the two of them cross-country from their home in Illinois, heading to Los Angeles, hoping to see some sights and hike along the way.
We were driving along heading west on Interstate 70, past Denver about an hour. And then Sean said that he'd like to get out and just do a climb.
The two stopped in Georgetown, Colorado, a small historic town along the interstate. The winter weather was good, so they started to hike up an unmarked path into the hills bordering the town.
I was going up, it was getting a little gravelly, and so we'd slide a little bit.
Lee and Sean were climbing a steep cliff, almost 10,000 feet above sea level.
And as we ascended, I reached up and grabbed onto some, what I thought was solid granite, and apparently it just broke away, it just sheared away. And I remember the sensation of just starting to fall. And that's about the last thing I really remember.
Sean was hiking right behind his dad. When his dad tumbled, both went hurtling down the side of the mountain. They fell about 50 feet.
It felt like I hit something, then I was rolling. Then I opened my eyes again and I looked around and I saw my dad lying unconscious, about 10 feet away.
What was the scariest moment?
I did not know if he was dead or unconscious. And then the second scariest moment was when I realized he had amnesia and he couldn't help me through this.
Lee hit his head so hard he had no idea where he was or how he and Sean got on the mountain. After the fall, he was talking to Sean, but he wasn't making any sense. Fortunately, Sean was clear-headed and remembered his dad had a cell phone, but was it damaged during the fall? Sean desperately dialed 911.
Sheriff's office.
And was relieved to hear a voice on the other end of the line.
We're next to Interstate 70, I think. There's a town. It's in the Rocky Mountains. We're bleeding pretty bad.
Sheriff Don Kruger answered the call.
So trying to talk to the 11-year-old and get him to calm down and just talk to me and keep giving me any information that he possibly could.
The first thing Kruger and his team needed to do was figure out what part of a 30-mile stretch of interstate Sean was calling from.
You say that the gas station with the red roof is right by the interstate?
Yeah.
Sean was able to make out certain landmarks: the red roof of a gas station, a Conoco sign, the interstate, a river, but nothing specific enough to give rescuers a fixed position.
I had absolutely no idea where he was, how he got there, anything at all.
And Sean was also badly hurt.
You had a broken wrist and a broken leg.
Yes. And the only thing that was holding me up was my feet on this rock. So if that rock would have broken or I'd moved, then I'd probably slide and tumble down the mountain.
Rescuers had no idea how much longer Sean's cell phone battery would last. But incredibly, under all this pressure, Sean was able to remember his dad's cell phone number so police could try to trace the call. Still, if they lost the connection, they would lose any hope of locating him. High winds that day made a helicopter rescue impossible. So the rescue team decided to try to pinpoint Sean's location by sending a police car up and down the interstate, hoping he would see or hear the car and siren.
If you would, go ahead westbound, lights and siren, and we're going to stay on the phone with this guy and see if he can see you or hear you.
Georgetown is surrounded by mountains. Sean and his dad could have been in a number of densely wooded areas. And since they had little to go on, the rescue team started out looking for Sean in the wrong place.
My siren here in Georgetown, they did not hear that. Okay, they're not hearing it.
After police drove up and down the interstate for nearly half an hour, Sean finally heard the siren.
Oh, I hear the siren now. I did. I did. Yes.
Do you still hear it?
Yes, it's getting closer. Here it comes. Now it's going away. I think it passed us. Coast and turn around.
It had to be frustrating.
Yes, that was very frustrating because it was like I could hear it, then I couldn't hear it, and I just didn't know what to expect.
You thought they might never find you?
Yes.
Sheriff's Office.
By now, rescuers were at least able to determine that Sean's cell phone was transmitting from a cell tower on the same mountain he was trapped on. This enabled rescuers to trace his location to Georgetown, where they found the Presser's car parked. Sean and his dad were on the mountain directly above their car, but the dense trees were obscuring them from view. And rescuers couldn't see something else. Sean was exhausted and beginning to experience shock. In just a few hours, the sun would start to set. The temperature would plunge to below freezing. And to make matters worse, the cell phone battery was eating up precious minutes. Sean was getting scared and losing hope.
The wind is really blowing, the wind chill is really bad, and I'm freezing.
Okay, we're getting somebody there just as soon as we can.
Oh man, I started to shiver. There was not a second that I was not shivering. And then I started getting drowsy, and I thought to myself, don't go to sleep because that's a sign of hypothermia, and so I stayed awake.
And while Sean was talking to the rescuers, his dad, who was still entirely disoriented, began wandering around, trying to find a way off the mountain. So Sean had to do a complete role reversal and discipline his dad.
Stop climbing! Stop climbing up!
Tell your dad to stay put, okay? Is he walking uphill, or is he walking towards the interstate?
Uphill, for some reason. Dad, stay put! Stay put!
Sean faced a terrible choice: risk injuring himself more to look after his dad, or turn his attention back to the rescuers trying to help them.
Sure.
So you have to ignore your dad, ignore his injuries and what he's doing, and just get focused on getting
Yes,
help.
because I think that that would have saved us both. But if I would have focused more on my dad, then it would have taken him longer to get there.
With police tantalizingly close, but still unable to find Sean and his dad, Sheriff Kruger decided to replace the police car driving around town with a fire truck, hoping Sean would be able to see a bigger vehicle.
If they would tell him to look for the big red fire truck, we're going to have him start driving over that way.
In the meantime, Sean's injuries were becoming more painful. He was lying on his back on hard, cold rocks.
Okay, you still doing okay?
No, not really. Not really.
Okay. You just hang on, okay? 'Cause
Okay.
we'll be there just as soon as we can. We're working on it. You let me know if you see a big fire truck. You just come.
Yeah, I see a fire truck.
It was the first sign of hope rescuers had of finding Sean and his dad. The elite Alpine Mountain Rescue Team was told to be on alert.
Alpine stepping up to Code 3. We're going to have 2 parties carry out, and it's going to possibly be a technical carry out.
As they headed up the hill, the team was within reach of Sean and his dad.
Conical Command, do you have the visual on them now? We have visual.
But what was supposed to be a fun hike and a break from driving was still a nightmare. Sean's broken hand was so swollen and frozen he struggled to hold the phone, but could not. Fortunately, his dad was becoming more lucid and was able to take the phone and take over.
Hello?
I think I see you! I suddenly remembered how the hell we got up here.
Through the dense firs and steep hill, the Alpine Rescue Team finally found Sean and his dad.
I do know that Sean was very brave. He was very scared, but he held his own, and he acted in a very mature way.
Sean and his dad were rushed to a chopper waiting to take him to the hospital. Sean was treated for cuts and broken bones, his dad for a concussion and an injured leg. Without the cell phone and Sean's help, rescuers said the two would not have survived alone on the mountain after sundown.
I realized that life is very precious and you should savor every minute of it.
Their experience on the mountain has not deterred Sean and his father from going hiking again. But next time, they say, they'll wear helmets.